I was scared of him. Those words never came from Stone Cold Steve Austin's mouth. The Texas Rattlesnake built his kingdom on one promise. He did not back down from nobody. Not today, not ever. But you clicked this video because somewhere online someone said, Austin had a fear list, they lied. What Austin actually had was something far more dangerous. 10 rivals who nearly destroyed his body, his career, and his story. This is not about fear. This is about staying alive. The internet loves a good lie. Search for wrestler Steve Austin was scared of and you will find dozens of videos and articles. They all say the same thing. They all get it wrong. The real fear list belongs to Ric Flair, not Austin. Flair talked about workers who scared him in the ring. Guys like Scott Steiner who threw hard punches. Guys like Sabu who were not predictable. Bruiser Brody who was truly dangerous. That was Flair's list. But online writers got lazy. They saw Flair's list and put Austin's name on it. They mixed up anger with fear. They mixed up professional respect with real terror. Now everyone thinks Austin was scared of people. He was not. But he did face 10 opponents who tested everything he stood for. Austin's whole character was built on being without fear. His famous lines proved it. If you are looking for a fight, you just found it. That was not just a line. That was who he was. Fear did not fit into Stone Cold's world, but danger did. Risk did, career-ending threats did. Austin understood something most fans never see. Wrestling is not about being tough. It is about staying alive long enough to get paid. One bad fall and you are done. One political enemy and you are finished. One injury and the money stops. Austin faced those threats every single night. 10 opponents brought those threats to life in ways that almost ended him. After his neck injury in 1997, everything changed. Austin could not wrestle the same way. His movement vanished. His safety depended completely on his opponents. He needed workers who could protect him while making him look strong. That is a nearly impossible mix. Some opponents delivered. Others nearly broke him. The pressure was always there. One mistake could send him home forever. As Austin himself said, if you get sent home due to injury, you do not make money. That truth shaped every choice he made. It shaped who he trusted. It shaped who he stayed away from. It shaped his whole story. If you're enjoying the video so far, hit the like button, share it around, and don't forget to subscribe. Let us start with the man who mattered most. Number 1, Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan never touched Austin in a real match. That is exactly how Austin wanted it. When WWE offered Austin versus Hogan at WrestleMania 18, Austin said no. He refused to work with the biggest name in wrestling history. That choice shocked everyone. Fans wanted it. The company wanted it. Hogan probably wanted it. Austin did not care. He killed the dream match before it could happen. Why? Because Hogan stood for everything Austin hated about wrestling politics. Austin said it was about styles. Hogan worked slow. Austin worked fast. Hogan came from the old era. Austin came from the Attitude Era. Their ways did not match. That was Austin's public reason. The real reason went deeper. Hogan had a name for controlling match endings. In WCW, Hogan famously refused to lose clean. He used creative control rules to protect himself. He held down younger talent to stay on top. Austin knew all of this. He watched Hogan's political games for years. He saw how Hogan worked. Austin refused to become another victim. The fear was not physical. Hogan could not hurt Austin in the ring at that point. The fear was creative. Austin worried Hogan would change the match outcome. He worried Hogan would make Austin look weak. He worried the match itself would be bad and hurt the Stone Cold name. Austin had worked too hard to let an old legend pull him down. So he used his own political power to stop it. That power came from being the top star. Austin learned from Hogan's book and used it against him. This was not fear in the normal sense. This was smart staying away. Austin saw a threat and removed it. He protected his character from possible harm. That took more guts than facing Hogan in the ring. It took the guts to say no to a huge payday. It took the guts to let down millions of fans. It took the guts to trust his own feelings over everyone else's views. Hogan never hurt Austin physically, but the political threat was real enough to make Austin walk away from wrestling's biggest money match. Number 2, Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels stood at the door between eras. On one side was the new generation. On the other was the Attitude Era. Austin needed to get through that door. Michaels held the key. Their relationship was complex from the start. Michaels was the set star. He was the champion. He was everything Austin wanted to become. But Michaels was not ready to step aside. Nobody ever is. When Austin beat Michaels for his first WWF championship, it showed a changing of the guard. Austin's era was starting. Michaels' era was ending. That should have been a clean change. It was not. Michaels' presence still hung over Austin in many ways. Michaels had been the company's top guy. He had the respect Austin was still earning. He had the main event trust Austin badly needed. Austin had to prove he belonged in Michaels' spot. That meant performing at Michaels' level while also beating it. The challenge was not about hate or heat. It was about being real. Austin needed Michaels to pass the torch. But what if Michaels did not want to? What if Michaels held on too tight? What if the crowd did not accept Austin as Michaels' replacement? Those questions created pressure. Austin had to be perfect. He had to make fans forget about Michaels while respecting what Michaels built. That is an impossible balance.
Michaels did not make it easy. He was dealing with his own problems at the time. His back injury would soon force retirement. His attitude backstage was famous for being hard. Austin had to handle Michaels' pride while trying to build his own. That political danger could have destroyed Austin's speed. Instead, Austin lived through it. He took what he needed from Michaels and moved forward. But the shadow of HBK hung over Austin's early championship run. Michaels stood for the level Austin had to beat. And beating Shawn Michaels was no small job. Number 3, Chris Benoit. Chris Benoit's name hardly exists in wrestling history anymore. WWE erased him after his death. But in Austin's career, Benoit was impossible to ignore. Austin called him one of the strongest workers he ever faced. Benoit gave 120% every single night. Small crowd or big crowd, it did not matter. Benoit worked like his life depended on it. That strength created a problem for everyone around him, including Austin. Working with Benoit meant matching his energy. There was no relaxing. There was no taking it easy. Benoit demanded the best from his opponents. If you were not giving everything, it showed. Austin respected that hard work. He praised Benoit publicly many times. But respect and comfort are different things. Benoit's style was physically hard. Every match with him left marks. Every move needed perfect timing. Austin, dealing with neck problems, had to raise his game just to keep up. Their match in Edmonton became one of Austin's favorites. He mentioned it specially when talking about his best work. That tells you how good it was. It also tells you how hard Austin had to work to make it happen. Benoit brought a true style to wrestling. Nothing was fake with him. Everything looked real because he worked stiff. That realness made matches great to watch. It also made them dangerous to do. One mistimed move with Benoit could end badly. Austin's body was already breaking down. He needed to manage his physical output carefully. Benoit made that impossible. Facing Benoit meant going into a war. There was no middle way. Austin could not protect himself the way he might with other opponents. Benoit's never-ending speed forced Austin to put himself in more risk. That pressure, that constant need for perfection made Benoit one of the most testing opponents Austin ever faced. Not because Benoit was dangerous or careless, but because he demanded Austin be better than his body could handle. Number 4, Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle picked up wrestling faster than anyone in history. Austin said so himself. Angle went from Olympic gold medalist to WWE superstar in record time. His body skills were clear. His technical skill was amazing. His ability to think fast in the ring matched Austin's own. That made Angle the perfect opponent. It also made him scary. Austin's neck injury limited what he could do. He needed opponents who could work safely while making everything look destroying.
Angle delivered that mix better than almost anyone. Their matches at SummerSlam 2001 showed Angle's greatness. Their funny parts with the honorary gold medal proved their chemistry. Austin trusted Angle fully, but trust does not remove danger. It just makes the danger manageable. Angle's natural skill threatened to overshadow Austin. Here was a guy with less experience making everything look easy. Austin had spent years perfecting his work. Angle showed up and became a main eventer within months. That is scary for any old-timer. Austin had to work harder to keep his spot above. Angle, he had to prove that experience mattered as much as natural skill. That pressure never went away. Angle himself thanked Austin as one of the wrestlers he learned the most from. Angle praised Austin's old-school way of calling matches in the ring. That quick thinking saved Austin's career many times. When Austin could not do a planned move because of his neck, Angle changed instantly. He made Austin look good even when Austin's body was failing. That skill was priceless. It was also a memory of Austin's limits. Every match with Angle showed how much Austin's physical skills had fallen. Angle's greatness highlighted Austin's weakening. The challenge Angle presented was special. He was not a political threat like Hogan. He was not a physical danger like some others. Angle was a mirror. He showed Austin what top physical condition looked like. He showed Austin what the next group would be. He showed Austin that his time at the top was short. Working with Angle meant facing his own end as a performer. That is a different kind of challenge. It is the challenge of watching someone younger, faster and more skilled do what you used to do. Angle was Austin's safest opponent and his most humble memory. Number 5, The Undertaker. The Undertaker was wrestling royalty before Austin arrived. Taker's story was set. His presence demanded respect. His character carried a power that few could match. Austin's beer-drinking, hell-raising character was based in reality. Taker's dead man gimmick lived in stories. When these two met, Austin faced a strange challenge. He had to make a story character seem beatable without breaking the story. Their fights required Austin to raise his whole presence. Taker brought weight to everything. His entrance alone overshadowed most wrestlers. Austin could not use his usual tricks. He could not just stun Taker and drink beer. The Undertaker demanded more. He demanded that Austin step into a different world. Special matches like their buried, alive meeting pushed Austin into area he was not comfortable with. These were not street fights or brawls. These were showy events. Taker's long life also created pressure. He had been a top star longer than Austin. He had worked with legends Austin could only dream about. Taker's experience showed in every match. He was one of the best quick thinkers in the business. Kurt Angle named Taker alongside Triple H and Austin as the best at calling matches in the ring. That skill kept Taker important for decades. It also meant Austin could not outwork him. Taker would change to anything Austin threw at him. The challenge was keeping trust. Austin needed to look strong against Taker. But if Austin controlled too much, Taker's power would break. If Taker controlled too much, Austin's unstoppable character would seem weak. Finding that balance required both men to be at their best. For Austin, already dealing with physical limits, that meant digging deeper than usual. It meant living through hard matches that his body could not really handle anymore. Taker's reliability made him useful, but his presence made every fight tiring. Number 6, Triple H. Triple H was everywhere during Austin's peak. They main evented many shows together. Their fights defined big parts of the Attitude Era. Triple H was reliable, skilled, and politically connected. He married into the McMahon family. He understood backstage politics better than almost anyone. That made him valuable as an opponent. It also made him dangerous as a partner. Their 3 stages of Hell match showed the physical cost Austin paid. These were not easy programs. Triple H worked a physical style that demanded full effort. Austin could not take it easy against Triple H. Every match needed strength. Every part needed focus. The sameness demanded from this rivalry wore Austin down over time. Unlike one-time fights, the Triple H programs went on for months. That long exposure made every hit and every injury worse. Triple H's ability to think fast matched Austin's own. Kurt Angle specially mentioned Triple H alongside Austin and Undertaker as the best at calling matches in the ring. That skill made their matches smoother. It also meant Triple H could control the flow if he wanted. Austin had to stay sharp politically. He had to make sure Triple H was not putting himself above Austin in small ways. Backstage politics in wrestling are cruel. Triple H was a master at that game. Austin had to watch his back all the time. The challenge Triple H presented was tiredness. Not just physical tiredness from their matches, but mental tiredness from the politics. Austin had to give amazing shows while also protecting his spot. He had to trust Triple H in the ring while not trusting him backstage. That double nature creates stress. It creates fear. It makes every meeting complex. Triple H was Austin's most steady rival during the most demanding time of Austin's career. That steadiness was both a good thing and a bad thing. Number 7, Owen Hart. August 1997 changed everything. Austin was set to face Owen Hart at SummerSlam. The match was fine until it was not. Owen did a pile driver. Something went wrong. Austin's neck pressed incorrectly. In a moment, Austin's career nearly ended. He could not feel his arms and legs. He could not move right. He finished the match through pure feeling and adrenaline. Then he went to the hospital and learned the truth. His neck was badly damaged. His career would never be the same. The injury itself was crushing. But what happened after made it worse. Owen Hart never called. Austin waited for that call. He expected his opponent, the man behind the injury, to check on him, to say sorry, to show some basic professional kindness. The call never came. Austin talked about this years later. He said Owen's failure to call made him mad. It showed a lack of respect. It showed a lack of responsibility. Austin did not want to work with Owen again. The trust was gone. Wrestling depends on trust. Your life is truly in your opponent's hands. One mistake can paralyze you. One careless move can end your career. Austin learned that lesson the hardest way possible. After Owen's injury, Austin could not trust easily. Every opponent became a possible threat. Every move carried extra risk. His whole way of wrestling had to change. He made his moveset simpler. He used safer, more basic tricks. The flashy technical wrestler from his WCW days was gone forever. Owen Hart stands for the greatest physical threat Austin ever faced. Not because Owen was mean, but because the results were so bad. One failed move wiped out years of Austin's career. It made his prime shorter. It forced him into constant pain. It changed everything about how he performed. And the failure to admit that mistake, to show basic human care, turned a sad accident into a permanent professional break. Austin might have forgiven Owen in time if Owen had just called, but he did not. And that silence spoke louder than any sorry ever could. Number 8. Bret Hart. Bret Hart was everything Austin was not. Technical perfection, careful mind work, step-by-step doing. Bret was seen as the best pure wrestler in the world. Austin was the rebellious fighter trying to break through. When they met in 1997, something special happened. But that special thing came at Austin's cost in many ways. Bret did not just face Austin. Bret made Austin. WrestleMania 13 is the most important match of Austin's career. Austin admits this. He calls it probably his greatest match. He says it put him on the map as a main event guy. It made the way for everything that followed. That double turn where Austin became the hero and Bret became the bad guy changed wrestling history. The picture of Austin bleeding, refusing to give up to the sharpshooter defines his whole story. But here is the truth Austin does not stress. Bret carried that match. Bret's technical greatness covered Austin's weak points. Bret's experience led the storytelling. Bret's trust gave Austin realness. Austin needed Bret more than Bret needed Austin at that moment. The business respected Bret as the gold standard. By living through Bret's attacks, by making Bret work for every advantage, Austin proved he belonged at the top level, but that proof only mattered because Bret provided it. Without Bret, Austin's rise would have been much slower. The challenge Bret presented was about being. Austin had to prove he could stay with the best technical wrestler alive. He had to show his fighting style was real against Bret's scientific way. He had to win over a crowd that loved Bret Hart. That is scary pressure. One bad match and Austin's speed dies. One weak show and the crowd turns on him. Austin delivered, but only because Bret made it possible. Austin's success in the end depended on Bret's willingness to lift him. Bret chose to make Austin look amazing. Bret chose to put Austin over in the most important way possible. Bret proved Austin's unmatched potential. As the research states, that proof was needed before Austin could believably stand up to Vince McMahon. Before Austin could become the anti-authority rebel, he needed to be the real fighter. Bret gave him that realness. Bret made Stone Cold possible. That is not a partnership of equals. That is a student learning from a teacher, even if Austin would never admit it that way. Number 9, The Rock. The Rock was the only wrestler who could match Austin, not in style but in star power. Rock's charm matched Austin's strength. Rock's talking skills matched Austin's famous lines. Rock's drawing power equaled Austin's box office power. When these two performed together, magic happened. But that magic came from competition, not friendship. Rock pushed Austin harder than anyone else because Rock was the only one who could actually take his place. Their rivalry defined the peak of wrestling's mainstream popularity. 3 WrestleMania matches proved their chemistry. Their parts together made great ratings. Fans loved watching them fight. But for Austin, this rivalry meant constant pressure. He could not relax around Rock. He could not take it easy through parts. Every meeting had to be perfect because Rock would use any weakness. Rock would steal the moment if Austin gave him the chance. The challenge Rock presented was special. Other opponents challenged Austin physically or politically. Rock challenged Austin's place as the absolute top guy. In every past era, wrestling had one clear top star: Hogan, Bret, Shawn. But in Austin's era, Rock was right there. Sometimes Rock was more popular. Sometimes Rock's parts got better reactions. That created an uncomfortable truth for Austin. He was not the undisputed king. He was sharing the throne. When WWE chose Rock as Austin's final opponent at WrestleMania 19, that choice was symbolic. It said Rock was Austin's equal. It said their rivalry was Austin's most important. It said Rock was the only person worthy of ending Austin's career. For Austin, that must have been mixed feelings. Pride in the rivalry, mixed with the understanding that he never fully separated himself from Rock. He never reached the single dominance of past legends. Rock's greatness forced Austin to share the light for his entire peak. That is a different kind of loss. Number 10, Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon was never going to beat Austin in a real fight. Vince was the boss, the promoter, the out-of-shape authority figure. But Vince stood for the greatest threat Austin ever faced because Vince controlled everything. Vince decided pushes. Vince decided storylines. Vince decided who made money. Austin's whole career depended on staying in Vince's good side. That created a power balance Austin could never escape. The Austin versus McMahon fight is called the biggest in wrestling history. It drove the Attitude Era. It made WWE billions of dollars. It turned both men into cultural icons. The rebellious worker versus the evil boss hit home with every person who ever hated their job. Fans lived through Austin. They wished they could stun their boss. They wished they could tell authority to go to hell. Austin gave them that dream. But here's what fans did not see. Austin needed Vince more than Vince needed Austin. Without Vince as the final authority figure, Austin's rebel character had no real target. Austin could not just fight other wrestlers. That is what everyone else did. Austin's appeal came from fighting the system. Vince was the system. Vince provided the unquestionable company power that made Austin's fighting meaningful. Take away Vince and Austin's character loses point. That need created a challenge Austin could not fix. He had to keep the illusion of rebellion, while actually doing exactly what Vince wanted. The political truth was brutal. Austin's creative power came from his drawing power. As long as fans paid to see him, Vince had to book him strong. But if Austin's popularity ever fell, Vince could bury him overnight. Austin watched this happen to others. He knew how quickly Vince could turn. That knowledge created constant pressure. Austin had to deliver every single night. He could not have an off week. He could not risk becoming replaceable. His whole place depended on being irreplaceable. Vince also stood for creative control. Austin might have views about storylines, but Vince made final choices. When Austin walked out in 2002 over the Brock Lesnar booking, he was fighting Vince's creative vision. Austin lost that fight. He came back on Vince's terms. That proves who really held power. Vince was the final enemy because beating Vince was impossible. You could stun him on TV. You could shame him in parts. But you could not actually beat him. Vince owned the company. Vince wrote the script. Vince decided when the rebellion ended. The connected nature of their relationship was the cruelest part. Austin made Vince richer than ever. Vince made Austin a global superstar. They needed each other. They hated each other. They could not exist without each other. That need created a toxic dynamic neither could escape. Austin's greatest professional success was tied to the man who could destroy him with one creative decision. That is not a rivalry. That is a hostage situation dressed up as entertainment. The numbers do not lie. The Austin-McMahon fight made never-before-seen money. It saved WWE from bankruptcy. It beat WCW. It made wrestling mainstream. But for Austin, every stunner he gave to Vince was a memory of his need. Every beer bash was done for Vince's okay. Every rebellious moment was carefully written by the man Austin was rebelling against. Vince McMahon was not just Austin's greatest enemy. He was the puppet master who made Austin's whole career possible while at the same time controlling every part of it. These 10 opponents shaped Stone Cold Steve Austin in ways fear never could. They did not make him scared. They made him better. They made him tougher. They made him more careful. They made him more political. They made him more strategic. Each opponent stood for a different threat. Owen threatened his body. Bret threatened his realness. Rock threatened his spot. Vince threatened his whole being. Austin lived through them all. His career was shorter than it should have been. His body broke down faster than it needed to. His political fights cost him years he could have wrestled, but he lived through it. He became the biggest star in wrestling history. He main evented WrestleMania. He sold millions of shirts. He made famous lines that will never die. That success came at a cost. Every opponent on this list took their share. The fake fear list going around online misses the point completely. Austin did not fear wrestlers. He feared injury. He feared being irrelevant. He feared losing control. He feared becoming old news. Those fears drove every choice he made. Who he worked with, who he refused to work with. When he walked away, when he came back. Austin ran his career like a business because that is what it was. Every opponent stood for a business decision. Some decisions worked, some cost him a lot. Looking back at Austin's career, the pattern becomes clear. His greatest matches came from technical workers who could protect him. His biggest fights came from rivals who pushed him creatively. His worst moments came from political mistakes and physical disasters. The 10 opponents on this list each played a part in that story. They were not monsters. They were not bad guys. They were professional challenges that Austin had to handle to stay alive. Stone Cold Steve Austin never feared anyone, but he respected the damage people could do. He respected the political power others held. He respected the physical danger in the ring. That respect kept him alive. It kept him employed. It kept him on top longer than he had any right to be after. Owen's piledriver nearly paralyzed him. Austin's story is not about being without fear. It is about being smart enough to know which fights to pick and which to avoid. The Texas rattlesnake struck. When striking made sense, he feared the end. He feared becoming a warning story. He feared dying in a ring for a crowd that would forget him by next week. Those fears shaped how he approached every rival. The 10 opponents on this list each stood for a different version of that ending. Austin looked them all in the eye and kept fighting. If you enjoyed this deep look into the real tests Stone Cold faced, hit that like button, drop a comment with your favorite Austin moment, and click the subscribe button.